Hello. Well, you may wonder why I'm wearing my puffy warm jacket and a sweater inside my apartment. It's because it's cold. And you may also wonder why there's a big plastic water container in my sink. This is just extra precaution because well, this is my camping water supply. If I'm going camping in my van or something, then I'll fill this up. That way I have drinkable water. I can cook with it too. I think it's mostly full. I should have done this yesterday, honestly. So what happened was last night there was a cyclone. So a cyclone is a hurricane, but in the Pacific, from what I understand. I think that's the correct distinction between a hurricane and a cyclone. They're essentially the same thing. Oh my gosh! So this thing holds. This thing holds 22 liters. Or in gallons, it's 6 gallons. Oh, I can still fill it up some more. Now, the reason why I'm filling it up is because I don't know when the power will come on. I mean, usually if there's a power outage, the power comes on the next day. But the power's been out, and there's like 500,000 customers' the power went out for 500,000 customers in Western Washington. And customers means households too, so it actually affects more than 500,000 people, probably. Yeah, there was a cyclone. They call it a bomb cyclone. That's a pretty cool name for a storm. Bomb cyclone. You the bomb. But it actually has a technical definition, which is a storm that develops very quickly with 24 millimeters of mercury drop in 24 hours. A bar? I don't remember the exact pressure unit. It might be millibars? I don't know. I don't know meteorology. This is cool. But yeah, there was a bomb cyclone that formed very quickly off the coast of Washington and British Columbia, Vancouver Island. Oh my gosh, that's heavy. Water is heavy. 1 liter is like 2.5 pounds. And this is 22 liters. That's pretty heavy. I'm pretty thirsty. Well, we have water flowing in the taps, so that's good. Don't have hot water or heat because of the electricity. Let's see, I think, well, I'm kind of hungry, but I don't want to cook in the house with the gas stove. I'm not even sure the gas stove would work with the igniter. There's funny things that like I didn't really think about until this happened. For instance, I have my small portable backpacking stove in the camping van, but the camping van is in a separate garage, and I can't open the garage because my clicker, the garage lift doesn't work. And then there's a side door with a security key, but I don't have that key. So I can't access my small portable stove, which is what I wanted because I want to make some oatmeal. So I had to go get my big camping stove for when I go van camping, car camping. But yeah, there's a big storm that formed off the coast of Washington, and it had very, very, very low pressure. So it was sucking air towards it, and huge spinning clouds with an eye, just like a hurricane, because it is a hurricane, it's just up here. And it didn't make landfall, thank goodness. It just stayed out in the ocean, but because of its low pressure, it sucked air towards it. And that meant air being sucked over the mountain ranges over here, but in the opposite direction that they normally go. Normally, winds go from the ocean out up the mountains towards inland. And so the trees are used to the wind blowing towards the east from the west, westerly winds blowing east. But this was unusual because there's a huge low pressure storm out in the ocean, sucking air towards it. So now air is going the opposite way it usually goes, from the east towards the west, so easterly winds. And the trees are used to wind blowing this way, but they're not used to wind blowing this way. And so there's really strong winds blowing the other way, and a bunch of them fell over and knocked out power lines throughout like a lot of the Seattle area and the surrounding areas. And so there's at least 500,000 people, customers, without power. So that means probably more people are affected, since in many instances multiple people live in a single household. Well, the heat's out, and the refrigerator is not on, so being very strategic about trying not to open it. And if I do, be very strategic about what I want, so I could open and close it really quickly so that it can keep cool. Good thing is that it's cooler weather outside. It's like 40s or something. 50s, 40s, 50s, something like that. But it's cold in the house, so that's why I'm wearing this. And Doobie's got her she's got her sweater on. Such a sweetheart. So we're just chilling, literally chilling in the house. Traffic lights were out, but luckily traffic wasn't too bad. And my cell phone isn't working quite right as far as cell phone reception here. I just drove to therapy, and where my therapy office is, they have power, and their cell phone data is normal. So it was nice to have some civilization. Yeah, but now I'm back here and I want to eat something. So yeah, I wanted to this video I wanted to share some things to just prep and just make sure that you are able to go without power for a couple days. And wanted to cook some oatmeal, and then I wanted to talk about goals for this for this YouTube channel. So that's kind of the outline of today's video. I was going to make a video about dark triad personality traits, but I made that video and I realized after making it that it's probably not very helpful. And the reason is some people have dark triad personality traits, and makes it very hard for them to get along with other people. But to talk about it and think about it, I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of, oh, that person is bad and they have dark triad, and it really, I think, separates people, and it shuts down being empathetic with others, and trying to understand where they're coming from and understand how, you know, people may have been hurt and by people that suffer from this problem. And I just didn't think it was actually, in the end, I didn't think it was very helpful. And that's why I didn't publish that this morning. I made it, and I was going to publish it, and I deleted it because I didn't think that it was overall helpful. So that's why I wanted to sit down and think about what are the goals of the channel. But before that, so we lost power last night, and we still don't have power today, and I don't know when we will have electricity because a lot of people were affected by this. I mean, Washington has a lot of trees, and a lot of our power lines are above ground, so when trees fall down, they fall on the power lines and transformers blow up. And it was actually kind of beautiful to watch the transformers blow up, because the clouds were very thick, so it was reflecting all the lights from the places that still had power. But then when the transformers blow up, the clouds turn like bright blue or pink, or like different colors based on whatever happens to the transformer. I don't know why they have different colors, but it was interesting to watch the transformers blow up, and then the clouds turn different colors, and then that part of the city go dark. It was kind of beautiful in a way, but I mean, obviously it's inconveniencing a lot of people, including myself. Luckily the winds have died down now, but apparently there's a second cyclone that is following the first one, but it's supposed to be weaker, hopefully, but it's supposed to come in a couple days. So we're gonna get wind again tomorrow and Friday. I think it's tomorrow. So kind of like a double whammy, but the second one is not as powerful, thank goodness. This is supposedly a once in a decade kind of storm. I think that's what they called it. Yeah, a pretty bad storm. Luckily, that storm didn't make landfall. When I moved to Washington, I didn't have hurricanes or cyclones on my list of natural disasters to worry about. I thought that only happens in the East Coast, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, but yeah, surprising. So luckily my wife and I had stuff. We have a little lamp. We have candles. Those little tiny candles are really good. You know, they're like about this big. You can get like a whole pack of them, like 100 of these little tiny candles. Those are great. They last all night. Then they run out, but because you got so many of them, you can put them in different places and keep things lit. And I have my camping stuff, so I've got my I've got my headlamp right here that I can turn on. This is for red light, and then it's got white light too, different radius. So I really like this one. This was very useful last night. And I always carry a flashlight on in my pocket. This is just a little electric flashlight. It's very bright. This one's battery powered, so I have a little bit of both. Hey girl, you want to come up here? And the other things that we have, well, obviously warm clothes, and we have dry food. I really like eating oats, so I have like a huge box of oats to make oatmeal and granola with, and I've got spaghetti, gluten-free spaghetti. I'll make a video about gluten-free stuff sometime. Maybe even today after I make this one, but that should be its own video. We've got some. Well, we got the groceries that are still in the fridge. We've got spaghetti sauce that's in a glass jar, and a bunch of nuts and seeds, and rice. We got rice and beans. We got lots of dried beans. So, and then we've got a way to cook. I've got these gas canisters and my camping thing that I'm going to set up here shortly. And but these guys, you don't want to cook indoors because of carbon monoxide poisoning. And the vent in the kitchen is not working because the power's out. So even if I I guess I could light the gas stove with a match or something, but I wouldn't be able to ventilate very well in the house without the vent. I mean, worst comes worst, I could open up the windows, the doors, and let fresh air in, and still use the kitchen burner. I guess I could do that. We got some firewood if it got really cold, but it's not that cold. We can just wear, like Doobie's wearing her sweater, I'm wearing a sweater and a jacket. And what else? Well, I have a satellite phone. If the cell phone service went down, it's still kind of working. It's barely getting by. We have some first aid stuff. I think that's about it. We got books to read for entertainment. Batteries. Having batteries so you can charge stuff like flashlights, phone, if you have a cell phone service, things like that. There's probably, water. So, I mean, we have clean water right now. Water's coming out of the taps. But, I mean, if power was out for some reason for a long time, it's not a guarantee to have clean water. So, I have my backpacking water filters. I could just go to the stream that's nearby and get some dirty water and then filter it. It'll work all right. You okay, girl? Yeah, it's kind of lets me see how fragile our power grid is. That a storm that forms really quickly can just like knock out power throughout the city, and how reliant we all are on communicating by text. Because this morning the text wasn't working where I am. It was working where my therapy is, but not where I am. And yeah, even getting information. If your cell phone doesn't work, and then you kind of don't really know what's going on. So yeah, it's been kind of eye-opening. I don't know when power is going to come back on. I hope it comes on today. But I looked at the power outage map, and the power outage map kind of just like the whole area in the Seattle area is just like there's outages like everywhere. So it's pretty much the whole thing. So I don't know when they're gonna get power back on. Well, let's try to set up this camping stove so I can have some hot water and oatmeal. So we're going to set this up so that you can see. I'm gonna come over here. Alright, so we got that going. I'm gonna go get the pot with some water so we can make some oatmeal. All right, I'm hungry, so I'm gonna make a good amount of oatmeal here. Let's see. So we're gonna turn on the gas and then light it. Oh yeah, we got fire. Probably should have set this a little farther away from the door, but what we can do is close this and we can watch it. Oh yeah. I can see when it's boiling. Excellent. Well, here we are, just chilling. I think you can see me. Problem with iPhone is that you can't really see what the camera's seeing. I think you can see me. Maybe. Well, probably. We could do this. There. Well, one of the things I did last night was do some reading. I was reading two things. One was Henry David Thoreau's essay on civil disobedience. It's about 18 pages, so it's not long, it's not short, and it was written in 1840s. So the English is slightly different than the English we use, but not that different. Not like Shakespeare English, or Chaucer. Chaucer is like impossible to read. I think it's Chaucer. Yeah. But English is pretty easy to understand. And what was shocking to me was Henry David Thoreau was writing about civil disobedience, and a lot of the issues that he was raising about government and being a citizen and the moral dilemmas and crisis of conscience and stuff. I found it shocking that a lot of the stuff he was talking about in 1840 applies to today. You know, like as a citizen, voting only goes so far, and every man and woman has a conscience, and they can do what is right to their conscience, or they can go against their conscience, and oftentimes the government has actions and compels people to do things that are against their conscience, and forces them by way of threatening seizure of property, or jail, or imprisoning people. So Henry David Thoreau was writing about how he did not agree with the Mexican-American War at that time, and slavery at that time. That was before the Civil War, American Civil War. So he was writing about how he didn't agree with that, and he didn't agree with the government's policies on that, and it was against his conscience. So he refused to pay taxes, and then he went to jail for that. And he was writing about his experience of doing an action that was in alignment with his conscience, but against the will of the government. And then he was writing about the relationship of a citizen to the government, and what the duties are of a citizen and what the duties are of the government. And he opens the whole thing by saying the best government, I forget the exact way he said it, the best government is the government that governs the least. But he said he wasn't a no government man, that he, instead of no government, he demands a better government. So not an anarchist, but kind of along that direction. Oh, the water's boiling already. So I highly recommend checking out that essay. It doesn't take that long to read. It's not like a multi-day reading. It's just, you can just sit down for an hour and read it. I have dyslexia, so it's like when I read stuff, I'm really slow. I have to read the same paragraph like 3 or 4 times because like my brain just starts getting discombobulated. So if you don't have dyslexia, you can probably get through it a lot quicker than I did. All right, water's boiling. Yes. Now we gotta go get the oats. Put the oats in there. All right, so we're going to. Here we go. Oh, it's really going. I can turn it down. Oh wait, am I turning it down or up? No. And I'll add in 3 cups of water. So I'm gonna add in 1.5 cups of oatmeal, which is a lot of oatmeal, but I'm hungry, so I'm gonna eat all of that. Let that boil there for a little bit, and then we can eat. Yeah, that'll work. Now, apparently, Henry David Thoreau influenced a lot of people. I didn't realize that he influenced. His writings were influential to Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King, amongst other people. But I did find that his writing was actually almost like a timeless writing. It's really talking about how a citizen and government. Oh no, that stuff's boiling over. We're good. I don't think I have to boil it for very long. It's probably going to be fine very soon. Just got to clean up the spill later. That's all right. But yeah, Henry David Thoreau influenced a lot of people with his writing about civil disobedience. It's an interesting topic. Something that I think about when I think about being a U.S. citizen, because my taxpayer money goes to funding wars and dropping bombs on people, like a lot of the arms that are sent to Israel are from the Americans. Israelis make their own arms too, but a lot of the bombs and stuff goes to Israel, and they're dropped on people in Gaza, and a lot of the arms that are made here go to Ukraine, and I'm not saying like one side is better or one side's right or one side's wrong. I'm just saying that my taxpayer monies are a lot of it sent to kill people. So I'm not even trying to get into the whole whether Israel or Palestine or Gaza or Ukraine or Russia. I'm not even talking about that. So don't think I'm getting there. I'm just saying that my money is going to build bombs that are killing people. My taxpayer money. And on top of that, my taxpayer money is used to drill a bunch of oil wells and
perpetuate this fossil fuel economy, which is destroying the environment, amongst other things. So, I mean, just those two things I find very troubling. And so, in a way, I am complicit. And, well, Thoreau talks about ways to act according to your conscience. I just find it interesting. I mean, I would I stop paying taxes? Probably not. You know, I go to jail and owe even more taxes, but it's interesting to think about. Henry David Thoreau on Civil Disobedience. That's a really cool essay. I find that a lot of the things that he did with his life, I do some similar things. Like he really wanted to spend a lot of time in nature. Yeah, he spent 2 years living in a cabin on Walden Pond, and he spent a lot of time studying nature. And actually, some of his writings were the beginnings of ecology. So he helped understand like how squirrels disperse seeds and help trees grow in burnt areas or areas that were cleared. And I just found him to be a really neat guy. Also, he didn't have kids either. He never married. Okay, so it looks like the oatmeal is pretty good. I think I would have been friends with Thoreau if we lived in the same time period. Yeah, I think I would have liked to hang out with him. Alrighty, so we got the oatmeal. It's got to thicken a little bit more. And we don't have the usual lights that we got in here, so that's why it's dark. Oh, I'm going to show you the mushrooms too. The mushrooms you can see already, pretty amazing. Oats. We got I think Doobie wants some. She's kind of looking at me like she wants some. All right, well, yeah, she definitely wants some. Let's make sure. I think you can, I checked it already. Okay, so just gonna pour this into the big bowl. Oh yeah. Heck yeah. I opened the fridge just for a second to get the blueberries out, and it's already like room temperature in there. Surprised by how quickly it equilibrated. I'm pretty generous with flaxseed. I think I learned a lot from the last health conference I went to, that getting enough of the fatty acids through seeds is really critical for helping the cells absorb and retain healthy nutrients. I'm gonna wash these real quick. I'll be right back.
got blueberries. Oh, a lot of blueberries. And we've got a banana. We're gonna mix it all together. And we have a hearty brunch. I was supposed to have brunch with my colleague I used to work with today, but because the power went out, his kids are at home and he has to watch the kids, and he's also got work, and so we were supposed to have brunch, and I was really looking forward to it, but didn't happen today because of the storm, the bomb cyclone. That's okay. Is this not the biggest bowl of oatmeal you've ever seen? I think it's the biggest one I've ever seen. This is a huge bowl of oatmeal. But I'm really hungry, so I'm gonna eat all of it. Well, Doobie's gonna eat some of it. She doesn't like fruit so much, but she does like the oats and the flaxseed. And she'll eat bananas, but oh, that's her asking for. She does eat the bananas occasionally. So I'm going to give her a little bit. She does not like blueberries. They're too sour for her, so I'm not going to give her any blueberries. I'm going to break up the banana too, little pieces. That's a good amount. Still a little hot. Oh, I'm really looking forward to this. Look at that cutie pie. Hello, cutie pie. Oh, too much. Here you go. Eat. Go ahead. You can eat. Is it too hot? Is it too hot? No. It's okay. Well, usually she scarfs it down, but just being a little bit. I think it was maybe too hot for her. Yeah. And there she goes. Oh, before I start eating, I want to show you these mushrooms. This is one thing that I want to talk about too before I talk about the goals of the channel. Look at this. Check out these beautiful mushrooms. They're just gorgeous. The undersides almost look like cathedral arches or something. Maybe like, I don't know what kind of cathedral, Gothic cathedral or something. Just these are so beautiful. There's a really big one right there. I'll show you. They're pretty firm. Well, that is, she's doing a pretty good job. Those are the mushrooms. Now I was thinking about this. This is something I wanted to talk about. And I watched those mushrooms grow from spores into where they are now. And I think I have feelings for the mushrooms now. Like, I don't want to eat them. I picked up this bag from the mushroom weekend, the Puget Sound Mycological Society Mushroom Foray weekend. I picked up the bag from there because they were making it for everybody so that you can take it home and have oyster mushrooms grow in your home and you can eat them. But I've watched these mushrooms grow up from little tiny baby mushrooms. And I don't want to eat them anymore. And I feel like it was a mistake for me to bring this back home. I almost want to like return the mushrooms to the wild. Maybe I will. But it's made me really second guess and question whether I want to eat mushrooms. Because they're life forms like I am. I mean, I have to eat some kind of life form. So then it got me thinking about what kind of life form do I want to eat? I'm eating oats, which are cereal grains. They're kind of like a grass that has a big seed. At least that's my understanding. Now, if somebody studies botany and understands better, or agriculture, you can tell me exactly how oats and grasses are related, but I think it's like a big grass that's got a big seed. Like wheat. It's just a cereal grain. And I'm eating bananas and blueberries. So I was thinking about different foods and how much violence is done to the life form and adjacent life forms in order to eat that food. And I think for fruits like berries and bananas, there's very little violence that's done. The plant is actually counting on the fact that animals will eat it and then spread the seeds in the poop. And you don't kill the plant when you take the berry from the plant. Same thing with the banana. So I think fruits have very little violence. I think similarly with seeds, depending on what kind of seeds, but seeds and nuts and squash. Squash are above ground. But with potatoes, root vegetables, carrots, you have to kill the plant in order to, well, now for oats, you also have to kill the plant. So oats, I think you kill the grass and you separate the stems and leaves from the grain. So there is some violence with oats. But with potatoes, you have to uproot the potato plant and kill it, and you also uproot other life forms that are adjacent to the potato, like the fungi that are related to it, and insects and worms. So there's a lot of more violence done in the harvesting of root vegetables. That includes onions and garlic. ginger, things like that. So that got me into just thinking about it and how my body feels after eating various foods. And if I eat an animal, if I eat a cow or beef or a chicken or fish, my body doesn't feel very good for the next couple of days. Usually starts several hours after eating. And I do notice that eating animals that are grown on a farm is different than eating animals that are wild caught. I think that there's something about growing up on a farm or in like one of those like chicken mills, where they have all these chickens that are super unhealthy, really close together. I think something about them, whether it's the food they're given or the maybe antibiotics or hormones they're given, or if just the quality of life that they have creates a lot of stress and hormones within the chicken's body. I don't feel good after eating animals, especially farmed animals. Chicken especially, but also farmed fish. Wild caught fish is not so bad, but we're overfishing a lot, so I don't eat too much. I haven't had fish in. I had sushi in the summer once, and then I had sushi in the winter last winter. So I had it twice. I don't eat much animal foods. Sometimes I'll eat cheese, but I try not to. Usually there's just cheese mixed in with a salad or something. Well, the reason why I don't eat cheese too much is because of too much salt. Even though it tastes good, I love cheese. If I could eat just cheese and bread, and that was healthy for me, I'd be so happy. I just eat cheese and bread all the time. Those are really yummy. Well, then I stumbled across this topic of Jainism. So Jainism is from India, I believe, and it's a way of living that has a lot of interesting thoughts on diet and violence to other life forms in order to survive. And what they try to do is they try to stick with fruits, seeds, grains, and leaves. And they try to avoid root vegetables like potatoes, sweet potatoes, onion and garlic, and they avoid eating animals and fish. Because of a moral or spiritual aspect of violence to other life forms. Now, interestingly, mushrooms are also avoided in Jainism because, my understanding is that mushrooms have a lot of life forms with them. And usually I've gone mushroom foraging now a couple times, and when I pick a mushroom, there's lots of bugs in the gills, and I picked an Amanita muscaria mushroom and brought it home, and I cut it up to make it dry, and I accidentally killed a worm that was inside. It was a worm about an inch long, very skinny, but it was moving very quickly, and I didn't know it was living in there. And when I was cutting the mushroom cap into little pieces to dry, I saw wormholes, and then I made another cut, and then I accidentally cut the worm in half, and it was squirming and it was in pain, and I felt bad. Oh, by the way, I did try that Amanita muscaria, and boy, that was very uncomfortable. It was a very unpleasant experience. Tons of nausea like the whole time. Wanted to like vomit. Oh, oof, this is not good. I do not recommend eating that mushroom. It's listed as toxic in a lot of field guides, and boy, it is not fun. It did have some psychoactive effects, but the nausea associated with it was really not good, and body discomfort. I was sweating too. It was just very unpleasant experience. So I don't recommend that. Plus, it has killed people. People got oversedated and went into a coma and cardiac arrest when they took too much. And the thing is, the usual dose that people take is one or two mushroom caps. No, one mushroom cap. But the overdose is like 6 or more mushroom caps. But the kicker is that depending on when you harvest it and what elevation you harvest the mushroom at, the concentration of the psychoactive compound can vary 10 to 1. So going by the dosage of mushroom cap is not accurate, because if you harvested it early in the spring from like a particular part of the mountain, it could have 10 times the amount of psychoactive compound that you think it has, but you only take one mushroom cap, but it's the equivalent of taking 10 if you harvested it later in the year. Well, you could overdose on one mushroom cap. So I think it's very dangerous. I don't recommend that. I highly discourage that. There are wonderful mushroom gummies that are available, that are legal. They're available. So don't mess with that stuff. But going back to Jainism, they don't eat mushrooms. Partly because other organisms come with the mushroom, but mushrooms are actually closer to animals than they are plants. They breathe like we do. They don't look like we do, but they're a fascinating group of organisms. There's the Cordyceps fungi that act like puppet masters. You know, there's that show, The Last of Us, is Cordyceps is a fungus. It doesn't do that to humans. In fact, some humans eat Cordyceps. It's very prized fungi, but it can zombify other organisms such as worms and ants. So, like with worms, it can get into the worm, or no, caterpillar. And the way that this caterpillar goes is, it normally, when the winter comes, it'll dig down into the earth and go head first down deep into the soil to stay warm. I think it's a caterpillar or a worm. I can't remember, because there's a big difference between the two. But you know, squiggly tubular animal. Normally, it goes down into the earth and it sleeps head first down where it's warmer, away from the frozen soil. But once the cordyceps gets into the worm/caterpillar, it convinces the worm or caterpillar to, instead of dig deep, stay close to the surface and sleep with his head up, close to the surface. And then the cordyceps erupts out of the junction of the head and neck region area. Well, I don't know if you can say that worm has a neck, but towards the head area, and then sends up a shoot and sends up a mushroom out of the ground to send spores out. It is pretty creepy. It's pretty creepy that it can
and it's inside the body of that organism, and it keeps all the critical life structures uninvaded, like the central nervous system, and the heart pumps and all that other stuff. But it communicates with it to make the worm do what the cordyceps wants. Really kind of bizarre. And an ant, what it'll do is it'll infect an ant, and it'll make, here's a anthill where all the ants are, and they're living underground, and they're going out and finding food and bringing it back to the ant colony. When a cordyceps spore infects an ant, it'll do the same thing. It'll zombify the ant. It'll make the ant crawl up a branch or tree or bush or something above the ant colony, and then it'll make the ant hang upside down or from the height above the colony, and then it'll kill the ant and then sprout the mushroom spores, so that the mushroom spores fall down on top of the ant colony. Mushrooms are so fascinating. They're not plants. They're not quite animals either, even though they breathe like we do, animals do. But after getting to know these oyster mushrooms, I don't think I want to eat mushrooms, but I'm fascinated by them. So I'm still going to go on mushroom foraging trips, even though I'm not going to forage the mushrooms. I'm just going to learn about them and learn from my colleagues that will harvest them. But I'm going to look at them and learn their names and how they interact with their environment. And I'm going to learn the non-edible ones too. Because I just find this kingdom of life the fifth kingdom, that's what they're called, just so interesting. But Jainism is also interesting to me, and I think I'm going to be practicing that. Now, I have a lot of peculiarities about the way I eat, and I apologized to my wife yesterday about that. But how I want to eat is low salt and whole food, plant-based foods, and I don't think I'm going to eat mushrooms. And I'm going to try to stay away from root vegetables. Now, this is very particular. I'm not condoning this for other people. I'm just describing what my thoughts are on food. I'll make a video on gluten-free stuff, maybe tomorrow or something, I don't know. Because that's an interesting story in itself. Now, I had therapy today, and I was talking with my therapist about how I feel conflicted about my YouTube channel because I wanted the YouTube channel to be something that helps other people. And the topic of helping other people is very complicated too, because how do you truly help somebody? If you let's say, there's times in my life where I've tried to help people, but I ended up hurting them. For instance, when I was a surgeon, I did surgeries for spine problems and some brain problems. And I did help a number of people, but there's a number of people that I didn't help, and there's a number of people that I made worse. I hurt them. Whether it was a complication or just even a perfect surgery, they just didn't get better. They got worse. So even though I was trying to help everybody, I hurt some people, and I didn't help some people, but I did help some. And I realized that diet actually helps people way more than diet and exercise and sleeping. All those lifestyle things is way more powerful than any surgery or medication. And so
That's why I started making these videos about help your body heal, is to help people heal their own bodies, because that's way more powerful than a surgery or a pill. So I thought that was helpful. But there's other times in life where I tried to help somebody. Like I had my brother-in-law living here, rent-free for a couple months, and trying to help him be positive, and he was going through a hard time. I don't know, he might still be going through a hard time, and I think that actually by doing that, I maybe delayed him from helping himself. So in the end, it might have hurt him. So the concept of helping somebody is fraught with a lot of pitfalls. Well, when I think about my YouTube channel, I think that I think that life is very complicated, especially now in 2024. I am 40 years old. I live in this American capitalist system that is spread throughout the world. And there's a political structure, there's also a religious structure that's predominantly Christian here. I live in an age of science and reasoning. Well, at least it has been most of my life, but now there's a reaction against science and reasoning. And there's an incredible amount of misinformation and disinformation and propaganda. A lot of division amongst people. And a sixth mass extinction that we are largely responsible for driving. This is a complicated time. And so I find it very challenging to navigate. And I think I'm slowly finding my way through this. And I think that my goals for this YouTube channel are to try to help other people who maybe at the same stage in my life. They might be older, they might be younger, they might be in school, like in high school now still. Or it might be people in the future, that maybe even after I'm dead, people can watch these YouTube videos if there's still internet on YouTube. And if my YouTube videos aren't deleted for some reason. Maybe these YouTube videos can help people navigate a really complicated life that we live. I mean, heck, there was a bomb cyclone. I didn't even know what bomb cyclones were until about 3 years ago when another one came through here, but it wasn't nearly as bad as this one. Now the power's out. Like, I didn't see that coming a week ago. And I have a faith that the power will come back on. And it will, this time. But maybe there's a time when multiple things happen at the same time and the power doesn't come back on. It's just a complicated time. It's complicated. So, it's hard to it's hard to navigate. And it's hard to make sense of all these things. And so I'm trying really hard to make sense of these things myself. And I'm trying to share what I can in the YouTube videos so that hopefully it helps other people make sense of and navigate this really complicated milieu. Oh, that's a good word. Milieu of issues and
well, yeah, it's really complicated. So I was talking with my therapist about it, and my therapist suggested that I write down what my goals of the channel are in terms of what specifically I want to help people with. I thought that was a great idea, so I'm going to do that right now. So I have my whiteboard, and I haven't made any scary stories lately because I didn't really want to make any more. The stories I made, scary bedtime stories I made, were scary enough, so I haven't really felt the need to make another one, at least not right now. So I'm going to write down my goal of the channel here. And the way I imagine this is, I don't have kids, but I know a lot of people that have kids. My brother, my niece and nephew, and I have friends that have kids. Some are teenagers, some are smaller children. And then I imagine them growing up and then seeing all this and then being overwhelmed. And so when I think about this channel, I think about what will the younger people, when they start growing up, when they grow up, how can I help them navigate this problem? And maybe even their kids. So when the little kids grow up and they have kids, maybe I can help that generation. So things that are important to me. Health. Without health, I don't like how that wrote. Without a healthy body, none of the rest matters, because if your body's in so much pain and you're suffering all the time, or you can't walk, or you can't eat, or you die, nothing else matters. Health. That's the key. I should say health in body, mind, and spirit, or soul. I'm going to say soul. Health in body, mind, and soul. That's our whole being. Body, our mind, our consciousness, and the spiritual aspect. I'm not a religious person, but I do believe that there's like a whole spiritual, other dimensions that exist, that you can feel, and you can it's there, but you can't really quantify it with scientific instruments. I have a science education in biology, and I studied neuroscience and was a neurosurgeon, and I cut open people's brains, and I watched my colleagues do awake brain surgeries, and science can only go so far in understanding consciousness. There's a limit to how much science can do. So there's definitely something beyond the mind, soul. So what I find really important is health in the body, mind, and soul, or spirit. One thing I think is very important to understand is civilization and culture. Civilization and culture. So I made those scary bedtime stories about takers and leavers, and how the way we live right now is based off of agriculture, which started about 10,000 years ago, maybe 12,000 years ago. And this way of life has caused a big population boom, because before that there was 290,000 years of humans living as hunter-gatherers, and they were in a much better balance with the rest of life on Earth. Not complete balance. There were extinctions caused by humans of megafauna like saber-toothed tigers and woolly mammoths, but they were living in a much better balance than we are, where we're making pretty much all the organisms go extinct. Well, except for maybe bacteria and mushrooms. So understanding civilization and the culture that continues the civilization, because the culture is what helps people make sense of their existence, but it also propagates a certain way of life, which is the civilization we have now. So helping people understand that. Like, for instance, right now there's that culture of consumerism and materialism, and that the lie is that if you work really hard, you can become wealthy, and then you can have a bunch of nice stuff and you'll be happy. You'll feel fulfilled. And that's a lie. Having a bunch of nice stuff does not make you feel fulfilled. This society also alienates people and isolates them. So this is a very isolating culture. There's no more regular attendance of town halls and knowing your neighbors really well and having a sense of community. Everyone is atomized, even in their own nuclear family. Most people don't live next to their nuclear family, or if they do, still, they don't live in the same family household usually. So just making people aware that the culture and civilization that we have now is not the end-all be-all. You don't have to live this way. You can choose to live slightly different or completely different. I think that helps people exit the rat race, or the what do we call the wheel, the mouse wheel, where the mouse just keeps running and it just keeps turning. I think thinking about this helps people find meaning. Okay, so let's probably find, and I'm going to say slash create slash define. I should make that capitalized. Find, create, define meaning in life. That goes with this civilization culture, but everybody as a different life. We all have a diversity of our own attributes, our characteristics, our personality, our upbringing, our current situation, our beliefs, our interests, our curiosities, our attributes that we're good at, our attributes that we're not good at. Everyone's different, and diversity is really good. It's good to have a diversity of different kinds of people, because each person has a strength and a weakness, and we can help each other out. Through diversity, we have strength as a group of people. But each person can find and create and define their own meaning in life. And what is meaningful to one person may not be meaningful to another person. I've been sharing my own pathway to find, create, and define meaning in life. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now with this whiteboard. I am finding, creating, and defining my meaning in life. Which part of it is what do I want to do with content creation, YouTube, and this platform? The other part is processing scary negative things. Processing scary negative things. You know, life always has scary things. Even before this culture, if you're a hunter-gatherer, there's saber-toothed tigers. There's the winter. There's running out of food to find. There's injury. Like somebody twisting their ankle, and then but your tribe has to walk really far to get to the next foraging grounds. There's maybe hostile neighboring tribes. There's always scary negative things. There might even be somebody within the tribe that consistently hurts other people emotionally or physically or sexually. But they're part of the tribe, and what do you do? Do you kick them out of the tribe? Do you murder them? Do you just allow that behavior to continue on? Do you try to talk with that person and hope that they'll change, but you've already tried that and it didn't work? These are scary negative things, and in that there's talking about what's going on in the world. We live in a civilization and a culture that doesn't really want to talk about negative, scary things. Death, we don't talk about death. We don't talk about negative stuff because everyone wants to be positive. And there is a place for being positive. There is a place of finding hope. That's going to be the bottom. Finding hope and joy. But if you neglect processing scary negative things, then you lie to yourself, and then you don't. And when you lie to yourself, that hurts you and everybody around you. So there's a big bias in today's culture to try to only think positive things, and I think that actually hurts everybody. So the last thing, well, let me think if there's anything for this last thing. So, anything else? Well, actually there's two things. So I'm glad I took a pause there. feel less alone. And that's a goal of this channel. I want to feel less alone. I want to have a sense of community with people. And I found that in making these videos and reading comments and talking with people through comments and hearing what their life is like and what they see and perceive and have learned and what they think about things. And I think these videos also, someone can play while they're doing a chore like the laundry or ironing or cooking, or maybe they're at work and they can just listen to this too, and maybe it makes them feel less alone. So that's a goal for both me and people watching the video. Oh, and also because I talk about these things that some people don't talk about, like civilization and culture, finding, creating meaning, and processing scary negative things, there's some things that people can't really talk about with maybe their friends or family, because people don't want to process scary negative things or talk about civilization and culture in a critical, analytical way. And that makes them feel alone. Or let's say they're experiencing racism. If you speak out about racism, you're liable to get even more hate and negative feelings sent your way. Like when I made that video about talking about my experience of racism, there's a lot of people that sent negative comments my way saying that I shouldn't talk about that, and that they're not watching my channel anymore, and so other people saying that that now I'm just a propaganda YouTube channel, and then there's other people saying really awful things about George Floyd, who's a human being. George Floyd is a human being, or he was a human being, and his life matters. It's just, when you talk about scary negative things, and if it's critical of the dominant culture and civilization, well, people lash out at you. And so that can make people feel alone, because then you don't want to talk about it. And I've talked about this. Silence is one of the most powerful tools of oppression from the dominant culture. So a big part of my videos is to talk about the things that people want to talk about, but they feel like they can't, or they feel like nobody else feels that way. But a lot of people actually feel that way. And when I talk about these things, then people feel less alone and more open to talk about things that they think they can't talk about. And I have one more line here, which is perfect because I only have one more thing, I think, that I want to talk about. So I'm going to write it down. Finding joy. Smiley face. This is what I want to do with my YouTube channel. These are my goals with my YouTube channel. Finding joy. So I learned a lot from going to the transgender Seattle choir, Seattle Transgender and Non-Binary Choir Ensemble, STANCE. And while I don't understand what transgender people go through, because I'm not transgender, I can't understand all the things they go through. I do see that they are harassed, they are murdered, they're stabbed, they're hated, and they're human beings. And while I don't understand all the things they go through, I understand that they are a human being, like I'm a human being. And I saw that they were I saw how much hate and oppression they had against their community. And I learned something so important from that, is that in going to that choir ensemble performance, I learned that joy is really important, especially in intense suffering and pain. Joy can fight hate. It can heal somewhat pain and injuries, and it can bring a community together. So, finding joy. We have a lot of stuff we're going through. Our food systems and health system does not promote health of either the body, mind, or soul. Our civilization that's propagated through our culture is causing a mass extinction, the 6th mass extinction that's ever happened on Earth. Not to mention the people that are living in the civilization are having a hard time. We have a lot of stuff. Meaning in life is lacking in a lot of people's lives, and there's a lot of scary negative things happening, and a lack of will to process it and talk about it. So people feel very lonely. So I'm trying to deal with all of these things, and with all these scary negative things that can be painful and cause suffering. I think it's important to remember to find joy. Joy, like when you were a little kid and you were playing with your friends and you found something that was just totally fascinating and made you and your friends giggle and laugh out loud. That kind of joy. I was thinking about how to find joy and bring it into my life. Joy, I feel like, is like trying to catch a bird. It's flying around, but not catch it to possess it or kill it, or it's more like trying to go find the bird so you can look at it and listen to the bird singing. Ways to find joy for me is doing all these things, having a healthy body, mind, and soul, thinking about how I want to live, what's my meaning in life, and trying to live that. I was talking about Henry David Thoreau, talking about how citizens need to live according to their conscience and make choices based on their conscience, and that voting is just a very, very tiny part of that. Everyday life, you can choose. Choice. Oh, I didn't put that on here. I'm going to put that on the top. Choice. I'm going to put it at the top because I think that's super important. Choice is so important. What we choose, because you have the power to choose what kind of life you want to live to a certain extent. But even in this life where, like right now, I don't have any electricity, this whole area doesn't have electricity, the cell phone signal is pretty dismal. I have to cook my oatmeal outside so I don't get carbon monoxide poisoning, and finding I can choose whether to be really sad about it and depressed or anxious and fearful, or I can choose to live with joy in my life and have hope in a true place, not a false hope, but a true hope in a place that keeps me going. I can live a life of peace despite all the stuff that's going on, and a life of love. So finding joy, and that's I think is tied to peace, love, and hope. I almost want to put them down there. I'm going to erase this smiley face.
I erased the smiley face and I put finding joy in true hope. Not false hope. True hope. Because that'll keep me going. And what is that? Well, I have to explore that and find it. So that is my goal for this YouTube channel. I'm glad I wrote that down. I really appreciate going to therapy. Therapy I find is very helpful. I don't know how much longer I'll go because I feel like I've gotten to a place where I feel a lot better about things. And my relationships that I want to maintain are in a much better place. And I'm letting go of some relationships that I do not want to maintain, that weren't very healthy or were hurting me. So, but I think therapy has been actually super helpful. I've gone for maybe a month and a half now. And I'm not sure how much longer I'll go, but I find it so helpful. So I highly encourage anyone who's struggling a lot that if you can, make some time to go to therapy, and it's well worth the time and the money that's spent. And the cost might be a little daunting, but I found that even going, I think I've gone like maybe 6 sessions or something, 5 or 6 sessions. Even that alone, I think has set my life on a much better course. I feel like I was like a sailing ship, a sailing boat in a very strong wind, but my rudder wasn't working quite right. It was loose, and so my boat wouldn't quite go where I thought I was headed or where I wanted to go, and I was just constantly drifting in different directions that I didn't quite want to go. But I feel like now my rudder is working right, and I can set my course, and I know I want to go that direction, and now I can go there, and that means I'm still constantly trimming the sails and using the rudder to counteract the waves and stuff, but I have more control in how I'm choosing to live. So, yeah. I hope this video helps you, truly helps you, not hurt you. And I will continue to make more. And I'll see you next time. All right, I forgot something that I wanted to put on here, and I'm not sure I said something that I already put on here. So it's part of finding joy. I don't know if I said this at the end of the video. Singing helps me find joy. Playing music helps me find joy. So I'm gonna do more of that on this channel. And a really super important part that I is like a huge part of the channel, but I forgot to put it on here. Almost running out of room. Where to put it? I'm gonna put it in big letters on the side. Nature. A big part of my channel that it's been like this from the very beginning with Doobie and I is that we want to be connected with nature, and to share that connection with other people, because we humans sometimes think that we're separate from nature, and that sometimes we think that we are above the rest of nature and we're supposed to like do whatever we want with it to our liking. But in fact, we are part of nature, and we're connected with all the other life forms on this planet and this planet itself. And we rely on all the other life forms and the planet itself and the sun. We're not above nature. We're not meant to rule over it and do whatever we want with it. We're meant to live with everything else. That's super important. I almost want to just like put it in big letters. Yeah, it deserves to be in bigger letters than on the side there. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it in big letters diagonally. It's almost like it. It's almost like it's behind everything else. Well, this makes it a little bit harder to read. Not quite sure I like what I just did, but that's what I did. Nature, all the way across diagonally. Can I still read everything else? Health and choice, body, mind, and soul, civilization and culture. Find, create, define, meaning in life. Gosh, you know what? I think I'm gonna just have to rewrite it. So I don't want to take so much of your time. I'll pause the camera and I'll come back when I have it rewritten. All right, I did it. These are the goals of my YouTube channel. I'll share them with you. Health and choice, because we have one body and mind and soul. And we can choose how we're going to live and how our body's going to function, how our mind is going to function, and how our soul is functioning. Connection with nature is integral to having a healthy body, mind, and soul, and making choices that are conducive to a healthy body, mind, and soul, because we are connected with all the other life forms on the earth. We are not separate or above the earth and all the other life forms. We are connected with them. Civilization and culture. Well, we live in a civilization and it has a culture. And there are good things about the civilization we live in and a lot of bad things. Same thing with our culture. They're integrally related. Find, create, and define meaning in life. Well, instead of just taking whatever meaning that is given to us or by our culture, instead of just taking it without thinking about it, and then going through your whole life and then realizing, these set of values are not actually very good. I don't feel good. Well, instead of going your whole life with just like taking the dominant culture or civilization's a set of values that it wants you to have, and realizing that they don't work very well, instead finding out what values are important to you and me, creating values and that may not exist, because life is changing all the time, and so sometimes we got to create new values and define them, and all that we can find meaning in life that is our own,
and also tailored for each individual person, because each individual person is different and in a different situation. So our meaning in life, in many ways, will have a lot of commonalities, but in some ways will be different, and that's okay. Processing scary negative things. Well, obviously there's a lot of scary negative things all the time. There always have been. But right now there are some really big scary things. Like the mass extinction that's going on. And, nuclear weapons is always, it's been a scary thing since they were invented in the 40s. But there's things like that. So processing those scary negative things, and there's big scary negative things inside all of us. Every one of us has parts of ourselves that are scary and negative. And negative doesn't always mean bad. So that's important too. In our culture, always positive things are encouraged and negative things are swept under the rug. So sometimes you gotta look at the negative things. Feel less alone. And community, that actually goes together. And finding community. Before this civilization, we would walk around in small tribes. Maybe, I don't even know how many people were in the tribes, 10 to 30 or something. Having a tribe or a community. Social media can be a way to communicate and have a community. But also, finding people in person is important too. So I'm going to work on that and foster this community that we have on this channel. Finding joy and true hope. And through that, we will, and you will, and we will find love and peace as well. But joy is interesting, because I think you have to go out and seek joy. And true hope can be elusive too. Love you can feel. It's just there. It's just accepting, and peace too. It's accepting. And they're slightly different than joy. Joy, you have to go find it. I think true hope is something you have to search for too. So they're a little different than love and peace. So these are my goals for the YouTube channel. Thanks for listening to these goals, and I'm really happy that I wrote them down. This is going to be a way that I keep my direction in the YouTube channel and in my life. I think this is a good way to navigate my life, is to have this down. And you might find that writing something like this down for yourself is helpful. I find this very helpful. And I'm glad that my therapist recommended I do that. But we still don't have electricity. It's been not quite 24 hours, but it's coming up on 24 hours. And this is the longest I've been without power ever. Well, not including backpacking. I'm talking about in my own home, in my apartment. It's the longest I've been without power. I hope that the workers that are out there trying to fix the power grid are safe, and I hope that they can fix the power grid soon. I will post these videos, this video and whatever videos I make tomorrow, whenever the power comes back. So it might be a couple days. Bye.